celebrate International Day of the Girl and the launch of the Cyber Safe Girls Initiative. I want to particularly welcome the girls from the school that are here to join us, as well as an important person always in the school, the principal, Mr. Feener, and thank the school for hosting this event. You know you're doing well when you get this many microphones up here. I want to welcome also to the Atlantic Canadian ministers responsible for the status of women who are with us today. We have Marlon Moore from Nova Scotia. We have Valerie Doherty from Prince Edward Island. Pam Lynch from New Brunswick, who is representing Minister Marie-Claude Blaise, and our own Newfoundland and Labrador minister responsible for the status of women, Miss Charlene Johnson. We're also joined today by several ministers from other departments, and it's good to see them here. We have the Minister of Health, Minister Susan Sullivan, is here. The Justice Minister, Felix Collins. We have Minister Joan Burke, responsible for Advanced Education and Skills. Nick McGraw, the Minister of Intergovernmental and Aboriginal Affairs. We are also very pleased to be joined by the Chief Robert Johnston of the RNC. And I got to say a commentary to him because he's very prevalent in many of the events that we go to, so he's playing a huge role. And I got to say that's a pretty impressive lineup. It truly is. I think it speaks to how much we all want to celebrate the International Day of the Girl and just how seriously we all take the issue of violence and harassment in society. I'm going to turn things over to Minister Johnson to start us off this morning. But before I would do, I just want to make a note that Minister Johnson has made a little bit of history for women in our province. She was the youngest serving female to serve in the House of Assembly. And she's been there for 9 years now. I won't tell you what her age was when she joined. I'll just leave it at that, but making some history of her own. So Minister Johnson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Minister Jackman. 9 years and aging quickly, I say. Good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here today for this wonderful event. We've been hosting the Atlantic Ministers for the status of women in the province. Some have been here since Monday, and they've been having a fabulous time taking in the scenery, the shopping, the meals, and of course the great work that we're doing as ministers for status of women. So pleased to be here with them, as well as my colleagues and Chief Johnston, and especially teachers, principal, but most importantly the girls in the room. This is what this event is all about today. This launch is all about you and protecting you from violence and explaining how it is that we can help you be safe. It's very appropriate that we're here today, as Mr. Jackman said. This is the first ever International Day of the Girl, and we decided in June as Atlantic Ministers that we would change our regular meeting time and host our Atlantic Ministers meeting to correspond with International Day of the Girl and launch this event on the very first International Day of the Girl. So happy International Day of the Girl. Why have a project like Cyber Safe Girl? The stats show that 80% of the cases of child luring in minors over the internet for sexual purposes, in 80% of those cases, the victim was a female. And this is a very serious issue for all people, but as ministers, we need to target the highest priority areas first. So with 80% of females being the victim in child luring, we thought it was a very appropriate place to start. And I'm sure many of you girls here, I'm going to speak to the girls a lot, I'm sure many of you girls here know far more about social media and technology than I do, and it's quite amazing, and social media is a wonderful thing, and with it comes many benefits, but also with it comes many real dangers, and that's the purpose of our launch today. Cyber violence includes name-calling, teasing, starting rumors, posting embarrassing pictures, threatening and encouraging violence online, and sexual exploitation is a very real part of cyber violence. We had a presentation at our meetings yesterday from the RNC and the RCMP, and it was quite an eye-opener for all of us, and just how prevalent this really is. And the RNC said, while not a concrete number, they said just the RNC alone are putting 30 cases through the courts this year alone when it comes to child luring. So it's very real. A lot of times we think this happens in big cities, but the reality is it's happening on your streets. And that's why, as ministers and as governments, we want to help tackle this very serious issue. In fact, I'm not sure if some of you remember, and there's some parents in the room, that last summer in Port aux Basques, the RCMP issued a warning to parents to monitor their children's activity on the internet, as there were several reports of adults approaching minors on websites such as Facebook. So this is really happening. It's happening here and it's happening next door. I just thought I would ask you a couple of questions, and I don't want you to raise your hand, but I will encourage you, if it gets you to thinking and you have some concerns, by all means contact somebody you trust, a friend, a family member, a teacher, an educator. The police are here. Contact my office. This is so serious that if any one of you leave this room and can answer yes to some of these questions, by all means get in touch with us, because we really want to help. But I try to put in my mind what you encounter when you're on Facebook, and while we're there, and a lot of us are there, we're probably not there as much as you are. So I just thought I'd ask a couple of questions, and I wonder how many of you have friends on Facebook that you don't know? How many of you have chatted with these so-called friends? How many have had strangers approach you to meet you somewhere, and first trying to get to know you, asking what your likes are and what your dislikes are, perhaps asking your age, those types of things? How many people have asked you to take pictures of yourself and post them? Or how many people have asked you to do other inappropriate activities? Have you been bullied online? Have you been the bully? And do any of you have younger sisters? And if you do, would you like any of this to happen to them? So, unfortunately, more and more, this is becoming more and more common, and we are hearing a lot about this, not just in our cities, but right here in our own backyards. And it's really essential for each of you as young girls that we ensure your safety when you're using social media. So what can you do to be cyber safe? And these are just some tips for you. And this today is all about launching the website, and we do have fact sheets for you, for your parents and your educators. And Minister Doherty will get more into the website in just a moment. But just some of the things that you can do to be cyber safe. Never open attachments from anybody that you don't know. This may allow your computer to be tracked. And just this week alone, I had a call that my own Visa card, somebody got into that and went to town on that, and I have to leave this event and go file a police report. So if they can get into something as serious as credit card numbers, they can surely get into information when you're posting where you live and how old you are and those types of things. Never reveal personal information about your age or your address online. And never tell somebody where you are. I see a lot sometimes on tweets. I'm at Tim Hortons now. And if somebody is interested in you and you've attracted somebody who's interested in child luring, then by saying you're at such and such a place or you're at home alone is causing a very serious danger. And never send photographs of of yourself to somebody you don't know. Block or unfriend somebody if you're being harassed. And even delete or ignore friend requests on sites like Facebook from people you don't know. And as I said, if any of you are experiencing cyber violence, certainly tell somebody that you trust. And in some cases, the cyber violence is criminal, such as harassment, intimidation, and child luring, child pornography. And if you know any of that, by all means contact the police or contact somebody you trust so that we can contact the police. And really, in order to be cyber safe, you need to stop and think before you click the send button. And remember, if you wouldn't say it to somebody's face, then you shouldn't say it online. If you wouldn't feel comfortable showing a photo to your family, then don't show it to strangers. Internet usage has become a very big part of our daily lives by doing things like chatting with friends. And while you may think that you are chatting with a friend or getting to know a person online in private, the internet is not a private place. It's a very public place with lots of public information, and it's a wide-known public communication channel. And while it may seem like it's just your friends or the people that think are your friends can see any post you make online, the reality is you never really know who will see what you are posting. And once something is posted, it can never be removed from the internet. A lot of times, the first things many of us do now when we meet somebody is we go to Google and we look them up and see what information we can find about them. And this is becoming particularly common with employers. And I had a friend of mine tell me recently that they were hiring a babysitter, and they did the interview and everything seemed fine, and then they Googled their name and their Facebook site popped up. Well, let's just say they didn't hire that babysitter. So when you're thinking about your dream job later on in life, and I know you're in grade 7 to 9 now, and you all have ambitions, just remember that what you may post today could be there for a lifetime, and it could impact your dreams and prevent them from becoming a reality if something shows up on the internet that you wouldn't want anybody to see. A key focus of our Cyber Safe Girl project is not only to educate you, but it's also to inform the adults in your lives, your parents, your guardians, your educators, on the realities of cyber violence. And that's why we've created the website and a fact sheet of tips for all of the people that can help out. And if your parents want to talk to you about cyber safety, appropriate internet usage, or want to monitor your online activity, please try and understand where they're coming from, and please try and be cooperative. As parents, our whole goal in life is to protect you and ensure your safety, and really having that discussion with your parents is so critically important. And on the website, you will see there's an online agreement there that I mentioned, I know this is a really serious matter. As I mentioned earlier, this is the International Day of the Girl, so it is an opportunity to educate you all on the seriousness of what can happen to women and girls. I'm very happy to be here this morning to launch this website with my colleagues. Very happy to wish you all an International Day of the Girl. I don't intend to scare you, but I do want to tell you the realities that exist, and I can't get over the presentation that we received yesterday from the RCMP and RNC. And if any of you have any questions or want to reach out to get help, by all means, there's a lot of people in this room who care about you very deeply, and we'll do whatever we can. Everybody has a role to play in this. Governments have a role to play. Parents, first and foremost, are the teachers. Your educators care about you deeply, and the community as a whole. And we want to do whatever it is we can to do our part in protecting your safety. Some children have bad behaviors, but I don't believe that there are any bad children. I just think there's some bad behaviors. And I had a discussion with Minister Jackman late last night, and we were saying, if we could just channel some of this energy, because a lot of these people are real leaders when you're trying to plan some of these activities. So if we could just channel that leadership into positive activities, I think it would just be so much better for your safety. And I really believe there are no bad children, bad behaviors, and that's where we want to come in to help change that and channel that positive activity. So today really provides us with an opportunity not only to celebrate, but to also promote equal treatment for girls worldwide. We'll hear more from Minister Doherty on the website, and we have some females that are going to be joining in our participation today. So I'll pass it back to Minister Jackman now so we can go on to the next part of the program. Or do you want me to call up Jennifer? Okay, I'll call up Jennifer now. And we're going to do an oath for International Day of the Girl. Do all of the girls have a copy of the oath? It's on your program. So Jennifer could come forward. To commemorate this special day, I ask that your Student Council Vice President Jennifer Wilkins join me at the podium to recite the oath for International Day of the Girl, and you'll find the oath on the back of your program. And we'll all do it together. And while that was really hard to hear, this is a really exciting day. Are we ready, Jennifer? 1, 2, 3. Today, October 11th, we celebrate the first International Day of the Girl. We celebrate because girls are leaders, girls make a difference, girls' rights matter. I will make this day and every day count. Thank you so much. Now I'll pass it back to Minister Jackman. Thank you.
Really good stuff. Thank you, Minister Johnson and Jennifer. I was thinking as Minister Johnson was speaking that I can remember when there wasn't an internet. But to the young people in this room, the internet is it's been a part of their life, I would imagine, as long as they've been born. So it came in as something foreign to us, but to these students, it's been a part of their life. It is part of our lives as a means to learn, to engage in social activity, and to be entertained. But there's nothing entertaining about cruelty and violence against your fellow students. As you've heard, Sabre Safe Girls is an initiative designed to create awareness and to prevent cyber violence against girls on the internet. And I'm sure many of you have seen some of the recent news reports of violence and bullying in our schools that clearly shows why initiatives like this are so important and why they have become so relevant in today's world. And we have to keep driving home some of these messages that I'm going to read to you. That it is not acceptable to physically assault someone. It's not acceptable to verbally assault someone. It's not acceptable to be deliberately cruel to someone. It's not acceptable to stand by, watch, or let it happen. And it is certainly not acceptable to post photos or videos depicting violence. So, meanwhile, we keep working with schools and law enforcement agencies, parents, very important role here, and students, very important role, to stop violence against students, and Cyber Safe Girls will certainly add to our efforts. Now, I'd like to introduce to you Valerie Doherty, Prince Edward Island's Minister of Community Services and Seniors, and the Minister responsible for the status of women. Minister.
Oh dear. Technology, there's my notes, and now we've got all these mics here, and I'm trying to figure out how I can do both. Thank you, Minister Jackman, for the introduction, and good morning, everyone, particularly to the young ladies in the room. It's very, very nice to be here. And I'm so pleased to be here, not only because it is the first International Day of the Girl, but in particular to launch this website. I believe that it is something that you will find not only as of today, but in the future, very, very useful tool for you. As parents and educators, as politicians, and of course as a community, we want to keep the young women in our community safe. But with the wonders of technology, the world, both its good and its bad, is at our fingertips. And of course, with that can come problems. Through social media, kids are able to project an image of themselves. They can brand themselves, and they can share it with as many people as they want. And as we know, sometimes bad people with bad intentions get involved and can be drawn into the lives of our children. As well, the anonymity associated with the internet. It can lead to many things, including sexualization and cyberbullying. We can't keep girls off the internet. It's an integral part of your life, just like the telephone was in my generation when I was your age. So we need to keep you informed, because knowledge is power. Girls use social media to be creative. They use it to communicate. They use it to learn. And although social media can be quite useful, it certainly can have a very negative impact on the lives of girls. And knowing about social media and its risks can teach girls to use social media in a safe way. Girls need to be aware of the risks of certain types of online behavior. And not only do they not need to know about it for themselves, you need to understand the impact of what it is that you do on the internet, on how it can affect others. And that's exactly why the Cyber Safe Girl public program, this website, was created. The idea was actually launched in 2010, I'll say thought of in 2010 by what I refer to as a wonderful group of women. It was the 4 Atlantic ministers responsible for the status of women. And they agreed to look at how technology is used to stalk, to harass, and control others. Through the 4 Atlantic ministers, an advisory committee was struck, and this committee was struck to work towards educating not just the children, not just yourselves, our parents, our educators, anyone who has any involvement with children. And what we wanted to show was the risk of social media, and in particular, how we can make girls safe from sexual risk and harm and online sexual predators. The committee also looked at the negative and positive effects of social media on girls and young women, and how it's even portrayed through television and the social media. Then, during the spring of 2012, my department, through the Interministerial Women's Secretariat, actually went and sought feedback on the design of the website that we're going to show you today. We held a series of focus groups across Prince Edward Island with girls ages 8 to 17. We heard from a diverse group of girls. When you involve adults in designing things for younger people, sometimes it doesn't exactly turn out the way it should. So by working with these children, these young women, we were able to find out what would be appropriate for their use. The girls opened up during these sessions, and they talked about their online experiences. And unfortunately, not all of those experiences were good. Some of them were bad. But they did tell us how they felt about feeling unsafe while online. They told us a website like the one that we're going to launch today would be much more comfortable for them in order to get information, as opposed to asking adults. And we're not asking you to avoid talking to adults. We're trying to give you a means other than speaking to someone. You have the tool, which is such a prevalent part of your life, to go to. The young women that we spoke to told us it would be reassuring to have some answers that they can get online. They advised us on how the website should be written, how it should look. They even chose the colors. And the website that you will see today is a real collaboration on the development and the feedback that we received from the intended users, which are girls. And although they're not with me today, there are 2 groups of people that I feel are necessary to thank. Communications PEI and Translation Services PEI worked extraordinarily hard to make this project come to be. And the fact that we can offer the service in both official languages is very important to us. Without their assistance, today would not be possible. And for that, I'm so pleased that we were able to be here to show you what they created. And I think the most important part of this project has been creating the awareness in young girls and women, that through whichever medium they choose, that they understand that we need to protect ourselves and behave with fundamental respect and empathy for everyone. Today is only the beginning of this project. We expect this to continue to grow. Any good, successful website will continually change. So we look forward to hearing from you. We want to hear your suggestions. We want feedback on how to make this site even more useful. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm so pleased that we're going to be able to show you this, and I do encourage you to use it, show it to your friends, and it's, even though we've written it or designed it for girls, young men can get other very useful information as well, so be sure to share it, and as I said, give us your feedback because we do want it. So thank you very much for this.
That's a wow. That's all I can say. some of the language that was there, I wasn't aware of it. So all I can say, this is a wow project. There's no doubt about that. So I want to thank you, ministers, and Jennifer. This is a very important initiative. It's great to see all these young women here today. But I don't want to say that the issues we're talking about, they concern boys, as Minister mentioned, and as well as girls, and certainly there's information on this that boys can use. I'm a husband, I'm a grandfather, I'm a father, I'm a brother, and I'm a son. Women have had and continue to have a very profound impact on my life. And I want to assure you how important it is to me personally that women and girls are never the victims of violence of any kind. Since I became education minister about a year ago, I've been very vocal on this issue. Unfortunately, sometimes when I'm called on to be vocal about it, it's in reaction. But we've also been very, very proactive. And I will tell you here today, and Minister Johnson and I had a chat about this last night, that there are changes coming to our policies and our practices, and likely to our law, to address the issues around violence against all students in our schools. I was just thinking, as they were changing classes and looking at some of the students going by and they're waving and doing these things. I gotta say, in my career, Principal Feener will acknowledge all the challenges that come with administrating a school, and teachers will, but it's one of the best things that I was engaged in my entire career. And I think it was Minister Johnson who said earlier, you know, we are about attempting to protect you. I want to do what's best for my child, my grandchildren, and the students that come under our care. Over the past year, we've done a lot of work reviewing our Safe and Caring Schools policy, developing an action plan around it, developing a draft bullying program, prevention and intervention protocol, among other things. And now we are preparing to consult with the broader education community, including students like you, on what we can do to end violence and harassment in our schools. Today, the first International Day of the Girl, is a day where we are recognizing girls as powerful agents of change and as leaders. We've heard about some of those leaders today, but you can be leaders, girls, right now. By refusing to take part in violence, harassment, intimidation, or cruelty of any kind, you can become leaders in your community. You have that power. You really, really do. So to conclude my role here today, I want to congratulate the Atlantic Status of Women Ministers on this initiative. It is a wow project. I strongly encourage educators in the province to utilize this information and make it available to intermediate and high school students. And, very importantly, their parents, in order to protect our young people from the threat of cyber violence. I now invite the Atlantic Status of Women Ministers to join Abby Quigley for a cake cutting ceremony to mark this occasion. Now, I don't know where the cake is. Yes, I do. I see it right in the back. It's a big cake.
I had the Premier here yesterday, all of these ministers in government here today. Just shows how truly committed our government and the Premier is to the children of our province. There's nothing more important that we're doing in government. So thank you, Minister Jackman. He's a real proponent of this, and it's not too many get to MC a Status of Women event, so he's a special guy. Thank you so much. Now we'll have some cake.
There's lots of really good dinner, and I want all the girls in the
Cake at 10 o'clock in the morning, but we'll make sure the minister will tell me to go to